The point though about wanting them to leave, I mean, these are 100,000 people in a refugee camp. By definition, they lack resources. Where were people like that supposed to go? Was it even reasonable to tell them to go? I mean, they don't have anything to begin with.
No, that is unfortunately not accurate at all. And if you let me, I'd like to explain why. If you look at the footage that you're showing, you don't see tents. This isn't some makeshift refugee camp. These are permanent dwellings of Palestinians living in a Palestinian controlled area under Palestinian rule. These aren't refugees no more than my grandparents are refugees who came from Poland and Morocco in 1948. This is the time scope that we're talking about. These aren't refugees, and it's not a refugee camp any more than half of the population in modern Israel are refugees of the expulsion from Arab countries in 1948.
While I understand the point you're making about the permanency of the residents, they are poor.
And
they can't leave.
To move, Erin. Yes, they could. They made a decision.
You can't even get foreigners who have been trapped in Gaza to get out of Gaza. Okay, they're finally allowing some of the foreigners to slow and steady trickle to leave through the border with Egypt. Where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna go? Waz, they're not refugees because they're not living in tents, they're living in buildings. So you see what he's doing there? You see what he's doing there? It was okay. Don't feel bad for them. Don't feel, they're not living in tents. I mean, we're about to level their whole neighborhood, their whole refugee camp. We're gonna level it so they end up, if they can survive it, living on the streets, whatever's left of that area. But it's not like they're living in tents now. So we're gonna destroy the buildings and kill the innocent civilians and pretend like we're conquering Hamas.
So, just the idea that they're not refugees because they live there permanently it ignores the fact of the occupation. Israel controls everything that comes in and out of that place. When they say it's under Palestinian control, that's a superficial distinction. The Gaza Strip is controlled by Israel. They control the ports, they control everything. Folks cannot freely come and go in Gaza, but for a very select few amount of people. They're stuck there. They're stateless. They don't enjoy the same freedoms. They don't enjoy the same rights as their neighbors in Israel. They're refugees. They're stateless people in the way that they live. And again, for everybody at home to understand, they cannot beat Hamas. What do I mean by that? They're not fighting a conventional military foe. They're not gonna, invade Gaza and there's gonna be some, front that they're trying to conquer. They're not gonna take over villages, village by village, and just push this army back. This is a guerrilla group. They can't beat these guys. Again, recent examples, Vietnam, when the Russians invaded Afghanistan, when we invaded Afghanistan, the nonsense that happened in Iraq, like just look at what's happening in Libya right now. These wars cannot be actually won militarily. The only way for the army to win this war would literally be to exterminate 2 million people.
Well, they're working on it.
That's it.
They're working on it.
That's it.
And by the way,
there's no military solution here, guys. So they can't win.
There are the airstrikes, which obviously are taking out a lot of people. And then look, people get real uncomfortable when I use words like ethnic cleansing and genocide. But how else are you gonna describe a situation in which people are trapped in a tiny strip of land, millions of people? You're doing these air raids and this bombardment. The death toll is already 9,000 people. And then on top of that, the blockade of humanitarian aid, the blockade of fuel. Why don't we talk about that just briefly? Because we've been warning that not allowing fuel into the Gaza Strip is going to be incredibly destructive for the civilians there because the hospitals can no longer function and operate. And look, wouldn't you know? That's exactly what we're seeing now. Nearly half of all hospitals in Gaza are out of service due to bombardments and fuel shortages, including the leading cancer hospital in the Strip, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Ramallah. It warned Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, would be forced to stop operating in less than a day. Meanwhile, the main generator for the Gaza Indonesian hospital, one of the few remaining hospitals serving the northern part of the coastal enclave, went out of service Wednesday night, according to Dr. Atef Al-Khalut. He's the head of that hospital. So you're bombing the hospitals in some cases. You're refusing to allow fuel so the hospitals can function appropriately. There's still significant restrictions on humanitarian aid, meaning many of these Palestinian civilians have no access to food or clean drinking water. Pregnant women are seen drinking brackish water. The aerial bombardments keep happening over and over again, day after day, with absolutely no concern for human lives, innocent human lives, civilian human lives. And then they'll throw out the ridiculous, nonsensical talking point of Hamas uses them as human shields. Well, you guys are the ones who pull the trigger. You're the ones who pull the trigger. So I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. If I had the option, I would not do the airstrike knowing that at least 50 civilians, many of whom are children, are gonna die so I can take out, allegedly, one Hamas commander. I wouldn't do it because I'm smart enough to know that those innocent civilians don't deserve to lose their lives. And I'm also smart enough to know that doing that leads to more extremism and more hostility toward Israel and Israeli civilians. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. All you have to do is look at recent history. Back in 2002, the George W. Bush administration condemned the Israeli government for doing an airstrike in Gaza that took out one Hamas militant but killed 14 other civilians. Think about how disgusting and devolved our country has gotten, our government has gotten, where Joe Biden can't outdo the war criminal George W. Bush, where George W. Bush has more morality and more of a conscience than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I will not be voting for Joe Biden under any circumstance. I don't care about any other policy that he has championed and had a little bit of success on. I cannot, as an Armenian American, support a president who has greenlit the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. I will not be voting for Joe Biden. It goes against my morality and everything I stand for. This, for me, is the red line.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.